on Comcast Sportsnet, part of the NBC Sports Group.
The Fightin' Phils have lost some fervor since their World Series run in 2008. Injuries and a slow start has Charlie Manuel's squad facing an uphill battle in the NL East. Can the Northsiders take advantage of a depleted Phillies roster? It's game one of a two-game set from the friendly confines. Next. Cool and clear on the north side as we get you set for Chicago Cubs baseball on Comcast Sportsnet. The Phillies are here. It's a first of a two-game set. The Cubs hosting the Phillies to start a 5-game homestand. And hi again, everyone. Alongside Bob Brenly, I'm Len Casper. The Cubs just completed a 2-3 road trip. The Phillies on their first 3-game winning streak of the year. Bob, we're going to go back to that series in Philadelphia at the end of April. Cubs split the 4-gamer 2-2, and Brian LaHair had a big weekend, as he has really all year.
Yeah, he's had big Mondays, big Tuesdays, big weekends. Brian LaHair is just having himself a big season. The amazing thing about Brian LaHair for me is we saw him on the last road trip. He went 1 for 14 to start the trip. It looked like he was falling into a slump. He immediately bounces back with a 3-hit game. 7 of his 10 home runs this year have either tied the game or given the Cubs the lead. Not only is he getting his hits and homers, he's doing them at key times.
Matt Garza beat tonight's Phillies starter Kyle Kendrick the last time they matched up. Kendrick in for Vance Worley, but Garza has been lights out against the Phillies.
He's been really good against the Phillies. That last time out, Len, he was fantastic. Struck out 10 Phillies in that ballgame, gave up only 1 base hit. I believe he walked 1 batter in that game, but really dominated that Phillies lineup that was struggling offensively at that time.
You expect him to be a little sharper considering he came off that long rest his last time out?
I think so. There were some signs of rust last time out. Even though he was good, we've seen him better. I think Matt Garza is due for a real gem tonight.
So coming up, the Phillies and the Cubs will start a quick 2-gamer here at Wrigley Field. We'll have the first pitch and all the action next.
Brought to you in part by your Chicago area and Northwest Indiana Lexus dealer, who invites you to test drive a Lexus today. Xfinity, your home for the most live sports. Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Illinois, 75 years being right here in Illinois means no one's closer to your wellness. Experience wellness everywhere. Liberty Mutual Insurance. Responsibility. What's your policy? Toyota. Right now, you can get a lot for less at your local Toyota dealer. Official partner of the Chicago Cubs. The new wireless receiver from AT&T Uverse. Visit att.com/freeyourtv. Rethink possible. BMO Harris Bank. Helping money make sense. BMO Harris Bank. NA member FDIC. And by Southwest Airlines. Find our fares online only at southwest.com.
Welcome back to beautiful Wrigley Field. Fans stopping by to get a photo next to the Ron Santos statue on their way in. Clear skies above. Cool temperatures. Should be warmer the rest of the weekend. Cubs were gone for 5, back home for 5. This is a long stretch of a lot of games on the road. After this quick 2-series homestand, the Cubs will head off to Houston and Pittsburgh. Phillies come in last place in the National League East, 18-19, 1 game under 500. The Cubs are tied with the Astros for 5th in the Central at 15-21. Charlie Manuel a little more relaxed tonight. Got his second ejection of the season yesterday in the Phillies' extra innings win over the Houston Astros.
It's pretty easy to put Charlie in a relaxed mood. All you have to do is talk to him about fishing. Settles right down. And I don't think that's what Bob Davidson brought up to him the other day. I think it had something to do with trucks.
I guess the issue was Davidson getting in Brian Schneider's way right here inadvertently on a pitch that got away. And we certainly hope you do not read lips.
Charlie is such a mild-mannered guy. It's so unusual to see him get that red in the face, even in an umpire. But I think he got it all out of his system.
Well, we wait for the Cubs to take the field. See Jerry Davis, crew chief. He's at first base. Vic Carapazza is a home plate umpire. Phil Cuzzi at second. Greg Gibson over at third. And here comes Matt Garza. And he will face this Phillies Southwest starting lineup, still without Ryan Howard and Chase Utley. Jimmy Rollins leads it off. Former Cub Juan Pierre off to a very good start. Shane Victorino's in center. Big day for Hunter Pence yesterday. More on that coming up. Carlos Ruiz hitting .337. Polanco with a big milestone hit earlier this week. Mayberry, Galvis, and Kendrick rounded out.
Take a look at the Cubs defensively tonight. Behind Matt Garza, it'll be Soriano, Campana, and De Jesus left to right across the outfield. Stewart, Castro, Barney, LaHare once again third to first across the infield. Giovanni Soto behind the plate for Matt Garza. See his numbers on the season. Spent some time with the flu, missed a couple of starts, but came back blazing. Dalen, we saw the umpires waiting for the Cubs to take the field there. Game time was supposedly 7:05. We're looking at probably a 7:08, 7:09 start. Matt Garza does that at home. He doesn't do it on the road because he doesn't have control over it, but at home, when he's the starting pitcher, he's on his own schedule. Unfortunately, the umpires will file a report on this. When a starting pitcher is this late to go out to the mound to begin the ball game, unless there are extenuating circumstances, if the weather's bad, if they had issues with the bullpen mound, if there's a legitimate reason for the game starting 4 or 5 minutes late, the umpires will let it slide. But this happens every time Matt Garza starts. I have to believe MLB is going to issue a memo to the Cubs to get their starter out there a little quicker.
He comes into this start with a career ERA of 0.96 against the Phillies. That's the lowest ERA against the Phillies by any pitcher since 1921. So he hopes to continue that tonight, as Jimmy Rollins will step in.
Now, when Garza pitched against this Phillies team the end of April, they were really scuffling offensively. Basically, nobody in their lineup was hot at that particular time, and Matt Garza did what you should do against a cold ball club. He just mowed his way right through the lineup, punched out 10, gave up only the 1 base hit in 7 innings.
Cubs made a roster move just a couple minutes ago. right-hander Lendy Castillo has gone to the disabled list with a sprained left groin, and left-hander Scott Maine has been recalled from AAA Iowa. Maine is available in the bullpen, and also Blake DeWitt has been outrighted to AAA Iowa in an unrelated roster move. Here we go, and a strike on Jimmy Rollins. We actually started 5 minutes after the official start time. 7:10 tonight. Jimmy Rollins with 1,900 career hits. And he pops it up. Caught by Barney. Rollins just a .229 career hitter against the Cubs.
We talked about it back in Philly, Len. It just doesn't scare you as much, this lineup without Chase Utley and without Ryan Howard. And I think it's affected some of the other players who are so used to having those guys in the lineup either in front of them or behind them.
Juan Pierre, as he normally does, at least once a game, shows bunt and takes a strike. Pretty neat on Mother's Day. I guess the Phillies had some sort of drawing, and the lucky winner could fly his mom to Philadelphia for Mother's Day, and Juan Pierre was the lucky guy. He said his mom's still raving about it. Garza will pick it up and save. Well, Matt has had his issues throwing to first, and he just kind of lobbed a bouncer over there. It'll be an error on him on the throw.
To be honest, I'm surprised we haven't seen more teams try this against Matt Garza, because swinging the bat against him hasn't been extremely successful. But those teams that, very close. Teams that put down the sac bunts or guys that bunt for a base hit. Obviously, Matt has had his issues with that.
If Laher caught that ball cleanly, it looked like they got him. Not sure if it rolled around in that glove before he grabbed it or not. At any rate, it is an error on Garza.
And it looked like it might have got up in near the heel of the glove of Brian Laher. He tried to sell it, sweeping it off the bag there and turning to throw around the horn, but does not get the call for first base ump Jerry Davis.
Switch hitting Shane Victorino. He was able to hold up. 2 balls, no strikes. Well, the guy at first, one of the best base stealers over the past decade, and the guy at the plate has been very good too. Victorino runs, he's usually safe. Pierre's piled up 559 steals in his career. He is the active leader. Right now 24th all time.
5 this season, has been caught twice. The Phillies as a team very good about picking their spots.
Pierre takes off, called strike, throw there is high, and Pierre has number 560.
Pretty good jump over at first by Pierre. Good pitch to handle for Giovanni Soto, up and away from the left-handed hitting Shane Victorino. Unfortunately, his throw sails, and when Castro has to go up to catch the throw, that gives Pierre room to get in underneath.
Well, the Phillies generally have been surviving on the laurels of their starting pitching. Their bullpen has really scuffled. They've been a little bit better offensively here lately. Right now ranking just 19th in the majors in runs. It's fouled back. Full count, 3-2 on Victorino with Hunter Pence on deck. Here it is. Tapped foul. This is it. These 2 days, and then the season series is over.
Does that mean we can't eat cheesesteaks anymore the rest of the summer?
I'm not so sure of that. Yeah, they did have Philly cheesesteaks in the media dining room tonight.
Nice touch.
Not sure if that was coincidental or not. Pierre will move to third, but Victorino is out 4-3. And what a wild day Hunter Pence had against his former team yesterday. Hit 2 home runs, including the game-ending shot in the 10th, but it came an inning after his error in right allowed the tying run to score. I know you've had a fondness for Hunter Pence. We've seen him a lot as the former Astro has come to town many times, but you can relate to the error and then coming back and hit the game-winning home run.
Absolutely. Rarely do you get the opportunity to go from goat to hero in one afternoon, but Hunter Pence in front of the home crowd was able to do that yesterday. I mean, it just doesn't present itself that often. You know, you kick the ball around, you cost your team a couple of unearned runs, and you just hope to get an opportunity to do something to redeem yourself. And yesterday, Hunter Pence got that redeemed.
According to Elias, going back the last 30 years, only 2 players had hit a game-ending home run after making an error that allowed the tying or go-ahead run to score in the 9th or later. Juan Uribe did it with the White Sox in 2007, and Jimmy Rollins against Cleveland in 2010. Garza would like to get Pence here because the dangerous Carlos Ruiz is on deck. That's a strike. 2-2. To Ian Stewart, and the inning is over. Garza's error does not hurt his cause. Cubs coming up against Kyle Kendrick. Starting lineup against right-hander Kyle Kendrick. David DeJesus has been hot lately. So has Tony Campana. Starlin Castro and Brian LaHair also hitting over 300. Alfonso Soriano with his first homer of the year yesterday. Ian Stewart's at third. Giovanni Soto behind the plate, Darwin Barney at second, and Matt Garza on the mound.
Take a look at the Phillies defensively here tonight. Former Cub Juan Pierre in left, Shane Victorino in center, Hunter Pence in right. Good speed across the outfield defensively for the Phillies. Polanco and Rollins will be on the left side of the infield. Galvis and Mayberry on the right side. Carlos Ruiz, they call him Chooch, behind the plate tonight for right-hander Kyle Kendrick. Kendrick has not missed many bats in his 19 2/3 innings pitched. He's given up 31 base hits. A lot of two-seamers, a lot of cutters, occasional changeup.
He comes out of the bullpen again. The last time he faced the Cubs, he was filling in for Cliff Lee, who was on the DL. This time it's for Vance Worley, who went to the DL today with right elbow inflammation. So Kendrick out of the pen and into the rotation. And David DeJesus greets him with a base hit into the corner. He's going to try. No, he's not. Thought about 3. And he'll settle for a double and has now hit it 8 in a row.
Boy, he is red hot, squaring the ball up with regularity. And I'll tell you, I love this part of his game, and for the most part, the entire Cubs offense this year. They don't assume that's a double. They're going to run hard until the defense makes them stop. DeJesus turns the corner at first, takes a peek to Hunter Pence in the right field corner, hits the bag at second, and then decides to slam on the brakes in scoring position. But he was ready to go to third.
Cornerman in. Campana shows bunt, takes a fastball high. Kyle Kendrick, 6'3", 210 pounds, 27 years old, born in Houston, went to high school in Mount Vernon, Washington. That's foul. 1-1. There's the bunt, and Ruiz will get him. DeJesus at third with 1 out. Going to bring up Starlin Castro. Is easy in this game, but pretty good RBI opportunity here as the Phillies will play their infield back. Castro's hit .397 in his short career against the Phillies. And he pops it up. And fortunately for the Cubs, no play for Ruiz. Got into the little nook over right next to where Dale Swain stands in the Cubs dugout, and just couldn't find enough room.
Well, that's one area where the Cubs have a huge home field advantage. Those pop fouls between third base and first base, around behind home plate, with the little nooks right next to each dugout, the railing in front of the dugouts, the bricks, screen behind home plate, advertisements on the bricks behind home plate. Cubs should know how to play this field better than the visitors.
Another foul out of play. Cubs getting a little bit of a break. You know, the adage is it's not who you play, it's when you play him. Cliff Lee was on the DL for that 4-game series at the end of April, so they didn't have to face him. They missed Cole Hamels. He was the only Phillies starter to not go in that series. And in fact, in this entire season series, they won't have to face either guy. They will get Roy Halladay again, though, tomorrow night as Castro strikes out. Ruiz held on to the foul tip. That's a big one for Kendrick.
Well, and Kendrick filling in for Vance Worley tonight, who's been really tough on the Cubs in the past. Good change up that time. Ball just fades away and underneath the bat of Starlin Castro.
They're really banged up. Howard and Utley. Can you pronounce what Utley has, by the way?
Chondromalacia.
There
I
you
know
go.
very well what that is.
Yeah, you're a knee expert, aren't you?
Well, and Chase Utley will be too by the end of his playing career. Once it starts, it usually doesn't go away. You can lessen the effects of some of the irritation you have in the knee, behind your kneecap, within the knee capsule itself, but it's not going to go away.
Well, Hair doing it all offensively. And he takes a strike. Hit another homer yesterday. See, Ruiz wanted that pitch up, and after LaHair fouled it away, Ruiz even said, no, I want it higher than that. We'll see Paul Konerko this weekend when the White Sox come to the north side. It's a yank foul.
And from what I read in the papers, we'll see Adam Dunn in left field.
You know, they got to keep his bat in the lineup.
No doubt.
They do have pitching matchups for that series. We'll get to here in a moment. Another 0-2 and another foul. They're really working the top part of the zone against LaHair. That's more where Ruiz wanted it.
I mean, if you're Brian LaHair or Rudy Jaramillo, you foul that away. Even though this is just a 2-game series, it's pretty obvious they think they can go up the ladder on Brian LaHair and then keep the breaking ball down below the knees. Well, that seems to be a good plan of attack on anybody, but we've seen Ruiz come up out of his crouch twice in this at bat already, trying to get that high fastball above the zone.
Last pitch was a changeup, and it's 1-2. They're going in. And the comebacker didn't come back far enough, according to Vic Carapazza. We'll see.
It was very close. It was not quite enough movement for the Phillies right-hander to get it back onto that corner as much as he wanted. But that's the effect you want from a left-handed hitter. You see how Brian LaHair reacted to that sinker. He thought it was going to be way inside.
Cutter that time just missed the outside, so he's missed the inside and the outside corner by a fraction of an inch on the last 2 pitches.
Well, the one inside was a little closer. That cutter was late, and Ruiz is well off the plate, off of that outside corner, tried to make it look better than it was. Which is why the Phillies pitching staff loves to throw to Carlos Ruiz.
Change up that time, hammered to deep left, but caught by Juan Pierre right up against the vines. Well, the Cubs had a runner at third with 1 out, could not get him to the dish. Scoreless after 1.
Offer children ages 5 to 13 of all abilities the ultimate major league experience for 8 one-week sessions in 6 convenient locations around the Chicago area. Join fellow teammates for a week of top-notch baseball instruction, exclusive access, and unforgettable moments. Visit Cubs.com/camps to sign up your future Cub today.
Both teams stranded a runner at third in the opening inning. And it's Ruiz against Matt Garza here in the top of the second. And lines one back through the box for the Phillies' first hit.
Apparently some Phillies fans here tonight. You hear the chooch chant go up here at Wrigley as that ball was lined into center field. It's a first pitch fastball on the outer third of the plate at 92 and sends it right back where it came from.
We'll bring up Placido Polanco, who reached 2,000 hits 2 nights ago in pretty impressive fashion. A 2-run homer for that milestone hit, his first homer of the year. And according to MLB.com's Paul Hagen, pretty interesting, Bob, he became the 267th out of the 17,788 Major League Baseball players all time to get to 2,000 hits. That really puts it in perspective, doesn't it?
He's had a very long and productive career.
And a game-winning 2-run double in the 8th on April 30th against the Cubs as the Phillies earned a 2-2 split in that series. And he has been a career 300 hitter. Good contact guy. He's going to walk a whole lot, rarely strikes out.
And one of the highest compliments you can pay a major league player is when his teammates say he's a great teammate. Great guy to have on the ball club. He's very unselfish. For years and years was just the ideal number 2 hitter in a lineup. He would take pitches to give the leadoff man an opportunity to steal. He'd give himself up with ground balls to the right side, and all the while playing stellar defense.
There's the right one, he says.
Pickup sticks. Had 3 to choose from. He thinks he's got the right one now.
Two and two. Garza's last start was somewhat abbreviated. 5 innings. He gave up just 1 run on 93 pitches at Milwaukee. That was a game that went 13. He wasn't real happy that he didn't help out his bullpen that night, but it came after a week and a half off because of that virus. Missed a start. Lazy fly out to Campana. Ruiz goes halfway to second before jogging back. 1 away. Brings up John Mayberry Jr. You see the numbers for Garza. 5 walks in those 5 innings. Well, with Darwin Barney and John Mayberry in the ballpark, that gives Gary Pressey a chance to play the Andy Griffith theme twice. At least.
Not to mention Otis in the Cubs clubhouse.
Oh, man. Boy, if Ryan Howard were playing, and Ed Sprague still in the big leagues, you go on and on and on.
John Mayberry's a guy you do not have to throw strikes to retire. Very aggressive swinger up there at the plate. 24 punch outs on the year in 89 at bats. He's only walked 3 times. He wants to swing that bat.
Been better lately after a slow start. This is his ninth start at first. He's made 11 other starts on one of the corner spots in the outfield.
He's also made 14 appearances as a pinch hitter for Charlie Manuel.
Just missed the inside corner. By the way, thanks for getting the wheels spinning in my brain. Now I'm trying to figure out if there's ever been a major leaguer with the last name Goober.
We had a pitching coach with San Francisco, Herm Starrett. We used to call him Goober.
Out back. Associate producer Tamer Anderson looked it up. Nope. Goober. Check on Gomer next.
Well, we've got Josh Judy.
2-2. That's a fair ball. And Soto will get him.
Get off me, ball. Matt Garza runs a fastball right in on the knuckles of John Mayberry right here. That's just a self-defense swing. Taps it out there about 10 feet in front of home plate. Giovanni Soto gets out of the chute quickly. Strong throw on to Brian LaHare for the out.
Fouled off by Freddie Galvis, his switch hitting second baseman. Been filling in for Chase Utley. Shortstop by trade. I've never played second base professionally before this spring. That's a fair ball. LaHare can't get it. The Phillies jump out on top, and a slip there by DeJesus. Hope he's all right. Well, he really bit it out there right after he fielded that ball after the carom off the side wall. Galvis with an RBI double. It's 1-0.
Galvis was the Phillies minor league player of the year last year. Just rolls that top hand over and pulls the ball right down the first baseline past a diving Brian LaHare. Yeah, David tried to plant that right foot, just gave way immediately. Came down awkwardly on his right wrist, slammed his body to the ground, but able to hold Galvis to an RBI double.
Kyle Kendrick with a healthy rip. Just on a slider outside. He got him that time looking to end the inning. Galvis with the double, and the Phillies have an early 1-0 lead.
off at Wrigley Field. Don't miss a minute of the action as the North and South sides battle for bragging rights. Coverage begins at noon with Sportsnet Central live from the ballpark. The best coverage of the BP Crosstown Cup is on Comcast Sportsnet, fans' best friend.
And we will have the call on Sunday as well. Jeff Samardzija for the Cubs, Philip Humber for the White Sox on Friday. Ryan Dempster faces John Danks on Saturday. Paul Maholm and Jake Peavy on Sunday.
Who's pitching for the White Sox on Saturday?
Danks.
You're welcome. Can't resist.
He's Alfonso Soriano, who hit his first home run of the year yesterday.
Boy, and it was a bomb to right field.
Snapped a homerless streak of 119 at bats to begin the year, third longest homerless streak of his career. He leads off the Cubs second and takes a strike. This tied the game in the ninth. Jason Mott. Two blown saves. They've both been against the Cubs this year.
Just a bit out in front of that changeup. Pulled it right back over his shoulder into his own dugout on the third base side.
Oftentimes when he's cold and then gets a little hot, he gets really hot. Rollins backhands and gets him. Ian Stewart, the third baseman. He's been a big part of the Cubs' turnaround defensively. According to Baseball Reference's defensive efficiency chart, this is a team's ability to turn batted balls in play into outs. Last year, the Cubs finished second to last in that department in all of baseball. This year, they rank third in the National League in team defense, according to defensive efficiency. The Dodgers are number one, the Nationals number two. Three guys in particular have been really good. Darwin Barney, Ian Stewart, and a big improvement in left, Alfonso Soriano.
No doubt about it. Well, I think, you know, to a somewhat lesser extent, you got to give a lot of credit to Dale Swaim and his willingness to play the exaggerated shifts that we've seen in the early going. If you put your defenders in an area where the ball's likely to be hit, you've got a better chance to make the play.
And that's where fielding percentage really doesn't tell the whole story in terms of how good a defense is. Because if you're not shifting to the right spots and balls get through, they're hits. They're not errors per se. They're just not outs. Stewart really got jammed on that one, kind of like John Mayberry did earlier.
That was a get off me ball swing right there. You know it's going to be close to the strike zone, but you're not in a position to take a good aggressive swing at it, so you just take that defensive hack, hoping to foul it off or maybe chop it past the pitcher and leg it out for an infield hit. But unfortunately that time right back to Kyle Kendricks.
You know, along the lines, Bob, of defenses turning balls and playing to outs. You know, we talked the other day about fielding independent pitching, trying to isolate a pitcher from his defense. There's another school of thought that goes the opposite direction, and that is you count the unearned runs, the errors, all that stuff is about run prevention. So you take it all into account. That's kind of the goal, right? Regardless of how you do it, whether it's an error, a hit batter, a wild pitch, a passed ball, count it all up and see who prevents runs the best. That's the goal.
Yep.
That's where Matt Garza really could help himself with some better throws to first.
Well, and his error in the first inning didn't hurt him on the scoreboard, but it made him throw more pitches than he should, and ultimately will probably make him come out of this game a little bit earlier than he should, because he didn't get an out that he should.
Instead of earned run average, just call it run average. Who's best at not giving up runs at all? Breaking balls popped up by Soto, and Mayberry just in fair territory makes a catch, and Kendrick goes 1-2-3 as the Cubs don't hit a ball out of the infield in the second. Still early, 1-0. A question. What former Cubs pitcher was the last Philly to throw a 3-pitch, 3-out inning? Get the answer coming up. Top of the order now for the second time. Rollins, Pierre, and Victorino. Phillies got on the board first on a Freddie Galvis RBI double in the second. Caught the outside, and a strike on the veteran Rollins, who re-signed with the Phillies over the winter for a 3-year contract. Grass was not greener for J-Roll. As a baseball fan who grew up watching guys like George Brett, Robin Yount, Alan Trammell all play for the same team, Cal Ripken, their entire career, I like that Jimmy Rollins is back with the Phillies. That's where he belongs. He's a Philly. And when he lines one into right.
And he's been a real good Philly for a long time. The 07 MVP in the National League. 3-time All-Star, 3-time Gold Glover. It wasn't all roses in Philly, though. When he got his career started playing under manager Larry Boa, he had some bumps in the road, but he figured them out rather quickly. I'd be shocked if Pierre doesn't bunt again. Didn't show bunt on that first pitch.
Stewart way in at third. These are the kind of nights that Wrigley Juan Pierre loves. An east wind. Keep the score down and get into that small ball that a guy like Juan Pierre loves. Tony Campana, I'm sure, feels the same way on the other side. There's the bunt. Better hurry. And Garza didn't have a shot. That'll be a hit. 2 on, nobody out.
Well, I mean, we've talked about it every game Matt Garza has pitched since he developed the yips on ground balls and bunts. Somebody's got to call him off. Even if you have no play, Giovanni Soto needs to make that play right there, just to keep the ball out of right field.
And you may see another one here. Victorino with 2 on and nobody out. And I think if Victorino does bunt, it won't just be a straight sacrifice. He's probably going to try to get Garza off the mound. Not showing bunt. He swings away, pops it into shallow right center. Barney calling for it, making the catch. Runners hold.
All's well that ends well. Darwin Barney with a nice running catch in shallow right center. Normally infielders are taught just go after it until you hear an outfielder call you off. He was waving his arm, telling the outfielders he had it, even though he was on a dead run into shallow right center. You go after it until somebody calls you off. It's your ball.
Ball of fire named Hunter Pence. Ball 1.
I was just thinking when Juan Pierre was at the plate, all you have to see is from his eyebrows up, and you know it's Juan Pierre because he always has his hat on underneath his batting helmet. Very distinctive. Hunter Pence, all you need to do is see him from the knees down, and you know that's Hunter Pence. Used this line many times in the past. Might as well use it once again. This was a Western movie. You put a posse together to go get the rustlers that stole his calves.
Not afraid to show him off.
No.
Long pause by Garza before the 2-0. And it's a slider in there.
You know, and I like that against Hunter Pence. I mean, we joke about it, but he is a very tightly wound young man. And the longer you can make him stand there coiled in that exaggerated crouch that he hits out of, the better chance you have that he'll develop tension in his wrists and his forearms, occasionally between the ears. And that's when you can slip a pitch by him.
Chokes up a little bit on the bat. The pitch inside. A fastball, 3-1. Social media night here at Wrigley Field, and we will be announcing the winner of the social media sweepstakes in the 7th inning. Robbie Gold, the Bears kicker, will sing the stretch. And the winner tonight will get a Cubs Authentics game used base from the game tonight, a game used ball, the social media series baseball cards, and a t-shirt as well. Pretty cool. Game used base and ball from this game. There's not going on the 3-2, and they're loaded as that one was way inside. And it's Garza's first walk. There's Ruiz, who singled to lead off the second and later scored on the Galvis double. Ruiz leads all National League catchers with 23 RBIs, tied for first with 6 home runs. Big spot here for Garza early on as he drops in a slider. Or AT&T U-verse multi-view, nowhere to put him. Rollins at third, Pierre at second, Pence at first. Phillies already leading 1-0.
Perfectly located fastball, bottom of the knees, inside corner, right on the border there. Gets the call from home plate umpire Vic Carapazza.
Ruiz checked his swing on a high heater and got a piece of it. Garza's been very stingy here at Wrigley Field, trying to keep it that way here in this inning. He's trying to get his career record back to 500. He's 54-55 lifetime. Only 12-11 as a Cub, in spite of a very good 3.19 ERA in 37 starts. He was a tough luck guy all of last year, and Soto's going to go out and make sure they're on the same page before this next 0-2 pitch.
You know, Len, as we've watched the developing yips that Garza has developed over the course of the season, fielding bunts and comebackers. I know you're a movie buff. You've probably seen the Stratton story.
I have not.
Jimmy Stewart and June Allison, fictionalized version of the Monty Stratton story, a pitcher for the White Sox.
There's a bouncer as that'll take Castro right to second base. A 6-3 double play. We'll get more on that movie. My curiosity has been piqued.
Oh, good.
The inning is over. 1-0 Phillies. Time now for the Home Depot doing more on defense. Pitcher's best friend, 2 for the price of 1. 6-3, bases loaded, and Garza gets out of it.
Perfectly leads Castro right to the bag. It's about as easy a double play as you can imagine.
Here's Darwin Barney, batting 8th in the lineup. This is his first at bat tonight. It's Kyle Kendrick, and he takes strike 1. Happy birthday to Abby Terpstra. It's from your grandmother, Julie Turner. Took that pitch, blown outside, 2-1.
Okay, so Monty Stratton.
Okay, let's do it.
Pitched for the White Sox from 1934 to 1938. Had a career record of 36-23 with a 3.71 ERA. He was an All-Star in 1937. Then suffered a hunting accident. Shot himself in the right leg. Had to have the leg amputated, and made several attempts in the minor leagues and in what was then independent ball to make a comeback, but it was thwarted because opposing teams continued to bunt on him.
Galvis just knocks it down. That'll be a hit for Barney.
Obviously circumstances much different, but you have to wonder at what point opposing teams are going to start to bunt the ball right back to Matt Garza and force him to make a play.
Well, right now he will try to bunt and force the Phillies to make a play, get Barney into scoring position. When you think about pitchers, you usually think about guys who can't find the strike zone. Rick Ankiel. Nice job by Garza. A little self-defense there, and it worked out. 3-4. Rick Ankiel at one point just couldn't throw strikes anymore. Ended up converting to the outfield. Steve Blass is probably the most famous example of a guy who just all of a sudden totally lost his command. But in terms of throwing the ball to first, you don't think of pitchers as much as a guy like Steve Sachs, Chuck Knobloch.
Yeah.
Infielders. Mackey Sasser.
Catchers that have problems throwing the ball back to the mound.
It really does tell you how much of this game is mental, doesn't it?
Oh, man. But once it gets between your ears, there's not much a coach or manager or teammate can do for you.
Jesus out in the deep left. Pierre drifting back and makes a catch. Barney will tag from second, and he's at third with 2 outs.
Well, Darwin Barney got that extra 90 feet right there due to advanced scouting. Juan Pierre does not possess a strong throwing arm. He's backpedaling onto the warning track as he makes the catch. Darwin Barney goes back, tags up, watching the throw the entire time so he could determine whether he could indeed make it to third or not.
Campana with 2 outs, cornerman in, as you would imagine, as he bounced that one off his front leg. Where did he get him?
Actually got him on the back leg, up near that left knee.
Just found out that Tony can dance.
I'd venture to guess you can't play the music fast enough for him not to be able to dance to it. Slow dances, I don't know so much.
Juan Pierre playing way in and left. As shallow as he might play an opposing pitcher who bats left-handed. Looks like he's about 210 feet from home plate.
And Victorino a little bit deeper, but shaded way over into the gap in left center. Hunter Pence straight away in right. If Tony could pull one right over the second base umpire, it would be off to the races.
1-2. Weekend here in Chicago. Sox and Cubs here on the north side, the NATO Summit. 2-2. You want to give yourself a little extra time to get to the ballpark.
Yeah.
Some street closures coming. Oh, pirouette.
You know, we talked about it with Laher at the plate. Pretty easy to determine that the Phillies were going to try to go up the ladder and get him to chase a high fastball. And Tony Campana, they're definitely going to work him inside.
Foul tip, strike 3. Cubs have left a man at third twice in this game tonight. They trail 1-0.
Tacos from Taco Bell.
Time to take a look at our Menards grounds crew. Hey, we've had an addition tonight. Kelly Cummings from Glen Ellen. Contest winner gets to go out and drag the field with the grounds crew here at Wrigley. She's doing a fine job. Just follow the leader.
Matt Garza trailing 1-0. Got out of a jam in the third inning, however. Keep the game tight. And here's Placido Polanco in the fourth. Strike 1. Everybody around. Baseball starting another 2-game series. A wild one going on in Detroit. The Twins 8, the Tigers 7. They're only in the 6th inning in that one. We'll see both teams in interleague play in June. 1-2. Blue Jays up big 7-1 over the Yankees in the 7th. Brett Lowry in the lineup tonight as he will appeal his 4-game suspension. I don't know if you saw it last night. He slammed his helmet down. Helmet came right up and hit umpire Bill Miller. So he gets 4 games and is appealing.
I wonder what the basis is for his appeal.
Well, he says he didn't mean to hit him, but if you see where the trajectory of the thrown helmet, it really had no other place to go but right into the umpire.
Check the angle. Yeah.
And you can't do that. Just surveying Twitter, Bob, it looks like a lot of people think he got off pretty easy. Just 4 games. Three and 2 on Polanco. Mayberry on deck. Hit well out to left. Soriano moving to his left. 1 away. Hey, fans, visit the Captain Morgan Club at Wrigley Field with more than 40 flat screens, great food, and Wrigley's largest outdoor patio. Come celebrate a Cubs win and join us for the Captain Morgan Club postgame party featuring great music and Wrigley's friendliest staff. For more information, including specials and private party options, call 773-404-4750. Texas leads Oakland 2-1 in the 4th. Josh Hamilton with a single in that 4th inning, now with a 16-game hitting streak. .20 offering. Slider strike. .58 degrees at game time. Slight breeze coming in off the lake. Ground ball to Castro. Let's continue to look around baseball. Citi Field will host the 2013 All-Star Game. Mickey Hatcher, after a long tenure as the Angels hitting coach, has been fired. Their AAA hitting coach Jim Eppard replacing him. And how about Jim Johnson? We don't hear a lot about him because he pitches in the American League East with the Orioles, but he's tied with Chris Perez of the Indians atop the saves leaderboard. He has 12 on the year. MLB made that announcement today in New York, the 84th All-Star Game. This year's Midsummer Classic will be in Kansas City. How about the Mets have only had one other All-Star game? That was 1964, the year Shea Stadium opened.
That was the last year. Shea Stadium was a nice ballpark.
That was coming. Yankee Stadium had it in 2008. Ready for this now? The longest time in between All-Star games now is the Dodgers. They last had it in 1980. Barney gets Galvis, and that's the first 1-2-3 for Matt Garza. 1-0 Phils in the fourth. Former Cub was the last Philly to throw 3-pitch, 3-out inning. It was Jamie Moyer 2 years ago. I guess he would have been age 47 at the time.
Whippersnapper.
Don't get into any long stories with Jamie Moyer on the mound. Helps to get that double play on one pitch. So what's more impressive? 3 pitches, 3 outs, or 9 pitches, 9 strikes, and 3 outs?
Well, I'm a big fan of 3 pitches, 3 outs myself. Because you could possibly parlay that into 3 innings.
Right.
And throw 9 pitches. Wouldn't that be something?
Here comes a 1-0 to Starlin Castro. That's a strike 1-1. He struck out with the Jesus at third and 1 out in the first inning. Game's already gone final with an early game in San Diego, and the Padres beat the Dodgers 4-2. Polanco. It's Castro.
Pledge your allegiance to the Cubs by becoming a member of the Cubs Club, the official fan club of the Chicago Cubs. Members will enjoy exclusive perks, experiences, and merchandise throughout the 2012 Cubs season. There's never been a better time to join, rejoin, or give a fellow Cubs fan the gift of a Cubs Club membership. To join today, visit Cubs.com.
In that game in San Diego, Chris Capuano suffered his first loss. He's 5-1. Dodgers are banged up. They only had 1 opening day starter in the lineup. That was Andre Ethier. 5 left-handed hitters were in the lineup against Clayton Richard. Carlos Beltran not in the Cardinal lineup again tonight. They'll play at San Francisco later. It'll be the third straight game he hasn't started. Did come off the bench twice to pinch hit in the Cubs series. Kendrick kept waiting, and finally LaHair said enough's enough. Fourth start this year for Kendrick. Winless in his other 3. In fact, his first 8 appearances as a Philly. The Phillies this year have lost all those games. This is not out of the ordinary for him as a starter since 2007. 101 starts coming into tonight, the third most on the Phillies roster. LaHair asked for time yet again.
It's a rarity to see a Phillies pitcher shake off Carlos Ruiz as much as Kyle Kendricks has in this particular at bat. Usually you don't see the Phillies starting pitcher shake their head at all with Ruiz behind the plate. He snaps that ball back to the mound. It's not the pitch I wanted. Good battle once again. Brian LaHair, for a big power hitter, he really has good bat control when he gets to 2 strikes, able to foul off borderline pitches, run up that pitch count. And the more pitches you see from that opposing pitcher, the better chance he has of making a mistake, throwing something up there you can hit hard somewhere.
Three and 2. Back-to-back full counts for LaHair, who lined out to the warning track and left his first time up. He's not afraid to hit with 2 strikes. Every teammate of Brian LaHair's would, I think, benefit from watching how he approaches every at bat. Get out of play.
And the thing is, Len, he's not a passive hitter. It's not like he goes up to the plate with the idea, well, I'm going to take until I get a strike. He's looking for a ball to drive from the moment he steps into that batter's box. But until he gets to 2 strikes, he rarely swings at bad pitches. And once he does get to 2 strikes, he's able to extend the at bat and foul pitches off. Stay away from pitches that are out of the zone. And certainly there's some luck involved on some of these foul balls, but you can force the other team's catcher to go out to the mound. Okay, now what? We've thrown him everything you have on both sides of the plate. We've tried to go up. We've tried to go down. Let's figure something else out here.
I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing, but we in this game tend to try to come up with guys who breakout players remind us of. Another 3-2 to LaHair. And when you try to figure out, okay, who's Brian LaHair remind me of? The only name I can think of, just watching him go about his business is Jim Thome. Every once in a while, I'll see a foul ball and just kind of has that feel, you know. That'll be foul. Anybody stand out to you when you watch Brian LaHair hit, other than Brian LaHair?
That's a pretty good call. You know, I think maybe LaHair does a better job of what he's done in this at bat, just continuing to foul off pitches, some in the strike zone, some out of the strike zone. Thome was a little bit more of a free swinger with 2 strikes and would swing and miss, I think, a little more often. But yeah, that's a pretty good call. Somebody's going to have to rub up another dozen baseballs.
Pitch number 14 of the at bat, and he got under. Pierre makes, no, he dropped it. Juan Pierre, I think, took his eye off the ball momentarily for a 2-base error. Wow. I don't think I've ever seen Pierre do that.
Pitch in the strike zone, up and out over the plate. Yeah, it looked like Juan got his glove out there in a position where he actually screened himself from that fly ball. Frustrated until he hears the roar of the crowd and realizes the ball's on the ground out there in left field.
I think he's hearing it from the bleacher crowd behind him.
Oh, yeah.
See if the Cubs can take advantage. Here's a Cubs left fielder, Alfonso Soriano. Ball 1. They're giving Juan a pass. Swing and a miss. 1-2. There it is. Just missed. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Astros are pounding the Brewers 7-1 in the 4th inning. Corey Hart with his 8th home run. And his team down big. Randy Wolf got knocked around. Still in there. 4 innings, 7 runs. And Soriano clubs one. Deep left center. Gone! And the Cubs lead 2-1. His first homer came yesterday, number 2 tonight.
Well, Landon, if you put a videotape together of all the balls that Soriano hits hard, that's the location he loves. Down and in, bottom of the kneecaps, inside part of the plate. He can just drop the barrel of the bat on the ball. Line drive home run into the front row of the bleachers in left center.
And another go-ahead RBI. He's come up with some big ones here lately. That error by Juan Pierre looming large. Would have been 2 outs, nobody on. Even if Soriano had homered, it would have been a tie game. Now it's 2-1, still only 1 out. To Stewart. We'll do it again. Soriano chatting with Steve Clevengers on the DL, but progressing well. Coming back from that oblique injury. Ground ball up the middle. Rollins behind second. 2 away.
When you think of that at bat that Brian LaHare had, and you wonder how much that took out of Kyle Kendrick in this inning. I mean, they were full innings last year. The Cubs didn't see that many pitches.
He was cruising right along before that error. Set up pitch 1-2. Just this inning. Here comes pitch number 32. Jam shot grounder. Polanco to end the inning. But the error by Pierre followed by the homer from Soriano, and all of a sudden the Cubs lead 2-1 after 4. Fans a chance to win free food if the Cubs get a base hit in the 5th inning. Fans with a base hit for Burritos game card win a free entree. That's favorite 4-letter words.
Free food.
Free and food.
The Chicago Cubs strongly encourage the use of public transportation. The CTA Red Line stops directly at Wrigley Field at the Addison Station. For drivers, DeVry University offers remote parking and bus service for just $6. Try riding your bike and use the Cubs courtesy bike check sponsored by World Bicycle Relief, located at the corner of Clark and Waveland. For more details, visit Cubs.com or call the CTA hotline.
There's Kyle Kendrick. After a laborious bottom of the 4th, be followed by Rollins and Pierre. Will try to make up for his error. Garza working with a lead for the first time tonight. And there's a flare out into right for a base hit. First hit of the season for Kendrick.
Right off the very end of the bat, a 93-mile-an-hour heater on that outside corner. It's a little cue shot down the right field line for a leadoff single, and now Kendrick will ask for the jacket as he runs the bases.
The outside corner. Too many guys have done much damage against Garza in their career. As Rollins pops it up. Starlin Castro racing over into foul territory and makes the catch.
Castro, with the shifts that the Cubs put on defensively in the infield, will occasionally have to run a long way to catch a pop-up. He was shaded way up the middle of the field, but still manages to get over there in the Cubs bullpen and make the catch.
So Rollins now just 3 for 17 against Garza. Brings up Juan Pierre, looking for some redemption. He's 1 for 2 with a stolen base tonight.
No sign of a bunt from Juan Pierre on the first 2 pitches of this at bat. Please swing away.
And he does, and tucks it right inside the line. Kendrick makes a turn. He'll end up at third, and Pierre has a double.
That's how Juan Pierre has made a living. Slider, cut fastball on that outside corner. He just lets the ball get deep into the hitting zone, shoots it past the drawn in Ian Stewart for a double.
See how the Cubs handle it here. We've got Stewart and LaHair in. The middle guys are back, so they will concede the tying run. Now it is the pitcher Kendrick running. Looks like anything up the middle that gets past Garza will allow Kendrick to score. Ball 1. Victorino's switch hitter goes with the double flap helmet. Most switch hitters have 2 helmets. Ask Shane if that just goes back to his minor league days. He was comfortable with it, so decided to just go with 1 helmet instead of 2.
I'm sure the equipment manager for the Phillies and the bat boys around the National League appreciate it.
Two and two is Garza, who only has 1 strikeout tonight. Would love another one here. And there's that ground ball. Backhanded by Barney. The throw not in time. Good effort. That'll be a hit though for Victorino. And an RBI to make it 2-2. A nice piece of hitting by Victorino just to guide that ground ball past Garza. He knew if he did that he had at least an RBI, and he gets a hit out of it to boot.
A great effort by Darwin Barney and Brian LaHare. They did everything they could possibly do. You saw Garza dive for the ball. Barney with a nice backhanded play. Yeah, I think they might have had him over there. Boy, good pick on a tough hop by Brian LaHare, and yeah, Victorino's out at first base.
You could hear a lot of Cub fans who just saw the replay we showed you on the in-house monitors. Well, now that Kendrick is cleared, he scores. You've got 2 really good base runners at first and third. You got Pierre at third and Victorino at first. Really opens up what you can do here if you're Charlie Manuel.
Victorino leading this Phillies ball club with 11 stolen bases in 12 attempts this season.
Try to turn 2. 6-4 to 3 to end the inning. So Garza's gotten a couple of key double play balls to end innings. They do, however, tie it up. It's 2-2. 2-2 our score. Matt Garza really unhappy. I believe with first base umpire Jerry Davis. A couple of close calls tonight going the Phillies' way. Barney, Garza, and DeJesus here in the 5th. 2-2 our score. Barney's bat a little heavier than the one he normally uses. He was really scuffling at the plate. And he's not a guy who likes to mess around with the weight or the length of his bat. But at the end of the last homestand, he decided to test a Brian LaHair model, which is a little heavier, a little longer than his bat. It's also made of birch as he flies out to Pence. I don't know how much you know about birch, but he had used ash his entire career up to this season. And I guess ash feels a little lighter than maple, but breaks a lot. Maple's considered the hardest of the woods, and birch is kind of in the middle, is what Darwin explained to me. And he's used it. He's had some success with it. So Bob, he's got a shipment on its way with his name on those bats, but the same size as the Brian LaHair model. Said, I don't want to change my mechanics or anything, but just subtle changes to try to jumpstart my offensive season.
And Darwin chokes up on the bat a little bit, as opposed to Brian LaHair, who usually gets right down on the knob with his right hand. So even though the bat is a little bigger, a little heavier than he's used to, by choking up an inch or so, it makes it more manageable for Darwin Barney to swing it.
Garza strikes out. He also said that at least 2 balls he has hit since he made the switch would have broken one of his ash bats, but he has not yet broken one of the birch bats.
Too many wood choices, I guess. You know, we only had 2 bat companies when I broke into the major leagues. Now there are dozens of approved bats in the majors. A variety of different kinds of woods.
Yeah. When I was a kid, I used balsa, and I never could figure out why I couldn't get a hit.
I remember when I was in college, they came out with bamboo bats that were guaranteed not to break. And for financial reasons, a lot of colleges ordered some of the bamboo bats with the idea that you would use them in preseason and batting practice and save the good bats for your games. Well, that was okay, but the ball wouldn't carry it all. You hit your best shot and it would barely reach the outfield grass.
But it didn't break.
But it didn't break. Hey, if you can hit, you can hit with a chair leg. It doesn't make any difference. And if you struggle, you couldn't hit with a canoe paddle. Doesn't make any difference.
Mayberry takes it unassisted, and that's a quick 1-2-3 for Kendrick. We head off to the 6th. Cubs 2, Phillies 2.
to the test. Come to Kincaid's Bar and Grill on Armitage this Friday and Saturday night as CSN looks to find the city's biggest Cubs and Sox experts to appear on our new trivia show, Batter's Box. Visit csnchicago.com for details on this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity.
We get into the sixth in a 2-2 deadlock. Chuch Ruiz will lead it off for the visitors. Nationals beat the Pirates tonight 7-4. Gio Gonzalez leads the National League in strikeouts. He had 10 tonight, and he got the win. He's 5-1. Beat Eric Bedard. Adam LaRoche 3 for 4, 4 RBIs. He's hitting .339. Lined to Soriano, makes a waist high grab for the out.
Ruiz hit a couple balls on the button tonight. High fastball up around the belt. Top spin liner to left field. Soriano once again, not an easy play, but stays with it. Makes the basket catch coming straight in. You can see him really favoring that left leg.
Out. Late swing by Polanco. Roy Halladay tomorrow night against Chris Volstad. A couple of interesting numbers on the two starters tomorrow night. Volstad hasn't won in 18 straight starts. 10 consecutive losses for him. Roy Halladay's 1-5 lifetime against the Cubs, who beat him in Philadelphia earlier this year on April 27th. And Philly. But the great thing about baseball is you never know. Volstad is certainly due for a really good one. Halladay, the last 5 times out, has either gotten a loss or no decision. Cliff Lee has made 5 starts. He has a 1.95 ERA. He doesn't have a win. How about the last 10 starts combined? For Lee and Halladay, the Phillies haven't won.
That speaks to their lack of offense. Ability to score enough runs for a couple of aces to win a game.
You shouldn't say they haven't won, but Lee doesn't have a win in his starts. 2-2 on Polanco.
Polanco's still trying to walk off that foul ball. Home plate umpire Vic Carpazzo gave him quite a bit of time to try to regroup back in that box. He's still grimacing every time he steps down.
Lined right to Barney. The 3rd annual Wrigley Field Fantasy Camp is back and offers a great Father's Day experience. On June 17th, you and a guest will watch the Cubs take on the Boston Red Sox from a luxury suite. On June 18th, spend the afternoon playing with Cubs legends and celebrities and lead your team to the championship game under the lights. Sign up today at Cubs.com/fantasy camp or call 773-388-8270. Mayberry has grounded out twice. Curveball strike. Another one. 0-2. Action in the Phillies bullpen. Raul Valdez.
How about the Phillies bullpen, and 4 lefties available for Charlie Manuel, 3 right-handed pitchers listed as relievers for the Phillies, but 4 left-handers in the same bullpen.
3 of the 4 lefties recently added to the roster. There's a right-hander, Jose Contreras. For those fans looking for the White Sox and Angels tonight, it's on CSN Plus. You can check csnchicago.com for channel details. Gavin Floyd and Jerome Williams will go at it tonight. Reading Mark Gonzalez in the Tribune, I guess Philip Humber didn't even make the trip to Anaheim because he's going to pitch Friday afternoon here at Wrigley Field against the Cubs. That makes sense.
That makes a lot of sense. What's the point in flying him out to Anaheim to watch a couple of ball games when he can stay right here in Chicago, get his work in every day, and be prepared to pitch on Friday?
There are still seats available for this weekend series. Wrigley Field box office, Cubs.com, or 1-800-THE-CUBS. Slider, swing and a miss. And the Phillies go down quietly in the 6th. Still 2-2.
Cubs season, including the next series against the crosstown rival White Sox, starting this Friday. To purchase tickets, visit Cubs.com, call 1-800-THE-CUBS, or visit the Wrigley Field box office.
Tony Campana against Kyle Kendrick. to do that a lot lately, although he didn't swing at it.
And that's a good thing, Len. I mean, even if you're up there to try to bunt for a base hit or use that slash bunt that it appeared Tony was doing that time, you still have to get a strike to do it. Saw the pitch out of the zone, pulled the bat back and took it for ball one, then fouls the next one straight back to the bricks.
Good breaking ball for a strike, 1 and 2.
That one right on the outside corner. Got Tony to quit on the pitch and then gets enough late movement to get the call. Remember in his last at bat back in the third inning, they were pounding Tony inside, pitch after pitch after pitch on the inside corner or further in. This time they've worked mostly away. And this time it looks like Chooch is going to go back inside.
On strike 3. And a comeback sinker that Campana didn't think got back to the corner.
Borderline at best. The pitch tracks. Maybe one of the red seams caught the edge of the black there. It's about as close as you can get. An umpire told me that one time. One of the red seams caught the edge of the black.
Okay.
Okay, well, if you can see that, I can't argue with it. I barely saw the pitch, for crying out loud. You saw a red seam hit the corner of the black? Okay.
High fly ball right center. Pence with no problem, 2 down. Starting today, and it's hard to think about the Phillies being under 500. They are, though. The Cubs' next 36 games through June 24th are against teams with records at 500 or lower. So based on the strength of schedule, the Cubs, who had a brutal schedule to start the year, it does lighten up a little bit. But I don't know if that really matters. And the Cubs have played some of their most inspired ball against the teams with the best records in the league, like the Braves and the Dodgers, and at times the Cardinals too. Brian LaHair's last at bat. You know, I just thought about it. 14 pitches. It resulted in a 2-base error. Maybe Juan Pierre just got lulled to sleep out there. Diving stop, John Mayberry, and the flip to Kendrick. What a defensive play by Mayberry. And that ends the inning. We go to the 7th, 2-2. Cup is on Comcast Sportsnet. Coverage begins at noon with a special crosstown edition of Sportsnet Central. Then at 12:30, former White Sox slugger Frank Thomas will join the Sox pregame live from the ballpark. Best coverage of the BP Crosstown Cup is on Comcast Sportsnet. Fans' best friend. Freddie Galvis will start the inning. And former Cub Mike Fontenot, recently added to the Phillies roster, will hit for Kendrick. He's on deck. Popped up on the bunt attempt, foul ground. Soto with the catch. Galvis takes his gum and angrily throws it to the turf.
To take that bunt with him to the first base side. Just popped it harmlessly in the air behind home plate.
Here's Little Babe Ruth, as Ron Santo once called him. Selected from the minors on Saturday. Signed a minor league deal about a month ago, a couple of weeks after he was cut by the Giants.
We were talking earlier about who Brian LaHair reminds you of, and Mike Fontenot in a Phillies uniform reminds me of Mickey Morandini.
Good call. He was at Lehigh Valley, where he hit 315 games, playing for Ryan Sandberg. He was an Iron Pig. James Russell cranking it up in the Cubs pen. Jose Contreras for the Phillies. Looks like Contreras will get the bottom of the seventh. Phillies have had all kinds of bullpen issues lately. There's the man with the good fork ball. The corner outside, 3-2.
Gio does a nice job receiving this pitch, trying to make it look good, but that's well off the plate.
And a base hit. Well, Garza really upset. Visibly angry as that ball landed in the outfield. Here's Rollins with a man on, one out here in the seventh. The 2-2 tie. Rollins went around. Vic Carapazza made that call from behind the dish. Phillies out hitting the Cubs 8-3 now. Kyle Kendrick filling in for the injured Vance Worley. Gave his manager a quality start, to say the least. Gave up 1 earned run, 2 in all in 6 innings. He was very good tonight. Hit hard, but right at Soriano, barely had to move. So Rollins lines out, 2 away.
Well, for Kyle Kendrick tonight, Len, it appeared to me like this is the best command we've seen him have. He was able to move the ball in and out, up and down. Had a few quick innings, had a few really long at bats.
.107 pitches, and Garza's done for the night. He'll leave in a 2-2 tie. The Honda call to the pen will bring on left-hander James Russell against Juan Pierre. New area in Chicago sports. The all-inclusive Budweiser patio now open at Wrigley Field. For more info and to purchase tickets for the 2012 Cubs season, call 773-404-4200 or visit Cubs.com/premier. The Honda call of the pen, and left-hander James Russell is on for his 17th appearance. I saw James yesterday, gave up a home run to Matt Carpenter in the 8th inning. Gave the Cardinals the lead. And Ty Wigginton batting for Pierre. Well, no matter what happens in terms of James' appearance tonight, Bob, he'll probably get right on the phone, talk to his dad after the game. Talks to his dad, Jeff, a lot, usually after he pitches. Get a chance to see Jeff when we go to Houston next week. He makes his home in Texas. 3-0 on Wigginton with Victorino on deck. Let's put it this way, with the way James has pitched this year, there hasn't been too much second guessing on Dad's part. And ball 4.
Well, there's something to talk about.
Well, Garza working into the 7th. Fontenot second, still on Garza's record. Outside, ball one.
Victorino, a switch hitter who's much better from the right side of the plate, even though he has limited at bats as a right-handed hitter this year, but more power. 4 home runs and only 34 at bats as a right-handed hitter. You can tell his approach is completely different. From the left side, kind of glides into the ball and just tries to slap it around the field. From the right side, he's got a little bit of a leg kick. He's looking to drive the ball from this side of the plate.
Also hasn't thrown a strike yet. He's missed on the first 6. Sean Camp up in the bullpen, and here comes Chris Bosio. Pep talk from the pitching coach.
I think you hit it right on the head, Len. I think that's all it was a pep talk. I don't think there are any mechanical issues. I don't think there's anything to do with the scouting report. Just pick up your target, play catch with Gio right here.
Just trying to make it 5 for 5 and get out of this inning with the game tied.
Gutsy pitch there after struggling to find the strike zone. A 2-0 breaking pitch got Victorino to swing over the top and foul it off. Sometimes that'll help a pitcher get back into the zone, force him to throw one of his secondary pitches instead of just firing fastballs out of the zone.
Hammered foul, 2-2. I hope everybody's all right. You saw Victorino, a long stare over there as he really hit that ball hard. Gonna go up. Did it hit him? Nope. 3-2.
It's just continued to cut further and further inside on Shane Victorino. He's been known to leave a body part out there and take a hit by pitch. That time able to get out of the way.
There go the runners. Swing and a miss. Robbie Gould with a Captain Morgan 7th inning stretch.
Guest conductor for Take Me Out to the Ball Game, Chicago Bears kicker Robbie Gould.
All right, Cubs fans, let me hear ya. A 1, a 2, a 3. Take me out to the ball game. Take me out with the crowd. Buy me some peanuts and Cracker Jack. I don't care if I never get back. Let me root for the Cubbies. If they don't win, it's a shame. For it's 1, 2, 3 strikes, you're out at the old ball game. Let's get some runs.
understatement. Jose Contreras will work for the Phillies in a 2-2 tie. They've made some other changes. Placido Polanco's out. Mike Fontenot staying in to play third. I wonder if Polanco fouled that ball off his leg. Might be injured. Ty Wigginton's in at first base with John Mayberry Jr. moving to left. Soriano fouled that one off his front leg. Well, we have a chance. Let's take a look at the Coors Light freeze cam. The go-ahead home run.
Yeah, that's the one he loves right there, down and in. Has that severe angle on the bat, but made good solid contact that time for his second homer of the season.
And Bears kicker Robbie Gould is with us on social media night here at Wrigley Field. Robbie, always great to see you.
Yeah, it's nice seeing you guys. It's been too long.
It has.
You know, I was just thinking, Robbie, you've been up here so often, though. There's probably a CD out now, Robbie Gould's greatest hits from the seventh inning stretch.
This is my 7th time. I think we need 5 more to call it the greatest hits.
All right.
But I will say it is getting easier as the years go on. But the good thing is, if I'm here every year, that means I still have a job. So I'm doing something right.
Well, you're doing a lot of things right, Robbie.
1-1. Soriano's supplied both Cubs runs to this point. That's inside. And we have to make an announcement. Mary Blum of Columbus, Nebraska has won the Cubs social media night sweepstakes. So she will get a game used base and baseball from the game tonight, courtesy of Cubs Authentics, among other gifts. So congratulations to Mary Blum of Columbus, Nebraska. Soriano not happy at all. He rarely gets animated in terms of a home plate umpire's call, but he did not like that one.
Wow. I mean, that may be the top of the strike zone, but I've said it many times. You don't get a call on a breaking pitch at the top of the zone hardly ever.
Soriano pops it up. We'll keep an eye on him after this out here as Galvis makes a catch. Just put his head down and head back into the dugout. Let's check out Robbie Gould's first pitch tonight.
Have you ever thought about laying the ball on the rubber and kicking it to the catcher?
Yeah, the problem is it has to get to the catcher. I think it'd only get halfway.
Robbie, when you are not at minicamp or training camp or in season, how often do you kick?
You know, what's funny is last year with the lockout, I didn't start until later in May, and I'm doing the same thing. So I just started kicking last week, and I feel great. I feel healthy. I'm really excited about this year's season. We've got a great team on paper, probably the strongest we've had in 8 years here, and there's a lot to be excited about with getting Brandon Marshall, re-signing Israel Donache, Craig Stelz, getting 2 great special teamers in Weems and Costanzo. You know, with the ability of having an Alshon Jeffries and McClellan come in as your first 2 picks and probably going to step in right away. I mean, there's a lot to be excited about this year. You know, we've probably had more depth this year than pretty much any year I've been here except for maybe 06.
If we did a strength test between your left and your right leg, would your right leg just win in a landslide, or are you even?
It would probably lose, to be honest with you, because the mechanics of kicking, everything is supported by my left foot, and I'm always planting on my left foot, whereas my right foot's more flexible than my left. But, you know, the interesting thing is when you train, I train individual legs as opposed to training both legs. So other than, you know, some deadlifts and some squats and stuff like that, we try to do unilateral work to make sure that I stay healthy, because everything I do is very unilateral.
Sure. 1-2 on Ian Stewart. And he went. Ball's dropped, but he doesn't move. He's tagged out. Social media night here. Are you Facebooking and tweeting a lot?
I tweet a lot at Robbie Gould 09. Okay. And you know, I'm really excited to be here tonight. It's a lot of fun. it's always fun to do like the first pitch and sing obviously the 7th inning stretch, but being able to interact with fans. And we're actually getting ready to launch a program with the Cubs. We're using Mr. Ricketts and Mike O'Malley's rooftop to do an event to raise money for Cubs charities. So if anybody wants tickets, call the Cubs Charities Department, and they can head you in the right direction, or follow me on Twitter at RobbieGold09.
That's great. Do you know how many followers you currently have?
44,300 maybe, and hopefully after tonight I get to that 45,000 mark.
Yeah, come on, let's get to 45,000 for Robbie.
It was funny because earlier we were talking. They were doing an anti-social media night across the street with Mr. Sullivan. He just so happens to be sitting in the press box next to me, so I was giving him a bunch of junk for it.
Good. Because we give Sully junk every day.
Always. Always.
That's right. Well, that's great. Well, we will follow you. Right when you leave, I'll find you on Twitter, and we'll make sure we're following you. So you'll have one more follower. Trying to get Bob into Twitter here.
He's more of a Facebook guy, I think.
No. I'm more of a face-to-face guy.
Face-to-face guy. Call-ups, phone home.
Here's the 0-2. Slow breaking ball, just missed. Big Sox Cubs weekend, as the Cubs will get into interleague play starting on Friday. You got the Ernie Banks jersey on. We know who you're rooting for.
Yeah, I had the Santo jersey on a couple years ago. I'm a big Ernie Banks fan. I was able to participate in the Cubs fantasy camp, and I met Ernie, and he's a great guy, and there's not a better jersey to wear than his.
All right, we're going to get you to 45K here tonight on Twitter. Robbie Gold, thanks for joining us. Best of luck in 2012 with the Bears.
Thanks a lot. Best of luck to you guys. Thanks for having me.
Good to see you again, Robbie.
You too.
Browse the largest online selection of authentic team gear, including official caps, t-shirts, jerseys, collectibles, and more. Get your team gear straight from the source. ShopTheCubs.com shop.
Here's the very busy right-hander Sean Camp.
See his numbers in his previous 17 games. He's warmed up numerous times where he did not get into the ball game. So you're absolutely right. He has been a busy man this season.
Thanks to Robbie Gold for joining us. And I'm now following him on Twitter. And you can too, at Robbie Gold 09. And Bobby just added about 100 followers in the last minute.
About that.
So he's 138 shy of 45,000. Let's see if we can get to 45K before the end of the night.
Well, he's one of our favorites, Lynn. I mean,
45,004.
There you go. There you go.
That's how easy it was.
That was a great question about his right leg and his left leg, because as soon as you ask it, I started thinking about pitchers, and a lot of pitchers, if you notice, their throwing arm is always more defined, usually a little bit bigger than their non-throwing arm, just because of using it so much. And I would have assumed it was his kicking leg, but that's a great point.
The plant leg.
The plant leg, yeah.
Stronger but more flexible with the kicking leg. One and two on Hunter Pence, who won the game for the Phillies yesterday in walk-off fashion, extra innings against the Astros. High fly ball that's going to stay in the park. Soriano has it on the warning track.
Do you miss the hop? It wasn't that long ago that a routine fly ball to left field like that, and everybody in the ballpark held their breath. And Soriano has taken great pride in his defense this year, and we've talked about it repeatedly through the first month plus of the season. Just a remarkable improvement in his defense in left field.
Pull out Danny and the juniors again at the hop. No, I don't. I can't say I do miss it.
No.
Garza went 6 2/3. Russell got the final out of the 7th, and now it's Camp in the 8th. Deep to left. Will this one stay in the yard? No. Front row of the bleachers right in the well, and Chooch Ruiz, the second opposing catcher in as many days, to knock in a go-ahead run late. Yesterday it was Yadier Molina in St. Louis.
Boy, got a frisbee slider pretty much in the middle of the strike zone. That's just good hitting right there. A great slow motion shot here. You see that slider working its way toward the outside corner, but it never gets there as Ruiz is able to get the barrel on it. That ball a long way to left field tonight with the wind blowing in.
That's Ruiz's first career homer at Wrigley Field. And now Pete Orr will bat for the Phillies pitcher of record now, Jose Contreras, who can get the win. Oh, 2. Antonio Bastardo is up. See on the bottom right there was Jonathan Papelbon, called strike 3, still with his jacket on. He's their closer. He was not available yesterday, but should be available tonight. He's been busy. We've said it already this year, at least once. Two guys in the Cardinals and Phillies that seem to scare you the most in big spots are the catchers, Molina and Ruiz.
Both great situational hitters. We talked about Molina in the ball game yesterday. Had 3 batted bats through the middle of the game, leading off an inning each time. But then you put him up there at the plate with a runner in scoring position, and he usually finds a way to get that guy on the plate. And Chooch Ruiz has been that guy for the Phillies against the Cubs.
Mayberry with an excellent diving play at first base earlier tonight. He's now playing left. Long and lean, 6'6", 225. Really leans out over the plate as he could not get that high slider. But Ruiz with a home run makes it 3-2 Phillies in the 8th. Cubs 2 is southpaw Antonio Bastardo in a setup role tonight. The Cubs will try to avoid facing Jonathan Papelbon in a safe spot in the 9th.
Doesn't give up many hits, but occasionally will get himself in trouble with the base on balls. Fastball slider pitcher will throw an occasional straight change up to a right-handed hitter.
Darwin Barney takes a slider at the bottom of the zone. Ouch. Phillies and Tigers, 2 teams going into the season, everybody assumed would be right near the top of their divisions, having some issues late in games. I think it's safe to say that there's nothing worse than having bullpen issues, because if you don't have a good starting rotation, you don't even get to your relievers. But it is deflating, isn't it, when you can't hold late leads with regularity.
You feel like you've done everything right for 7 or 8 innings of a ball game, made all the plays defensively, some smart, aggressive base running, timely hits, good starting pitching, and then it all comes unglued in the last 20 minutes or so of a ball game. That is very disheartening.
Scott Maine is called up today. Jeff Baker on deck for camp. As a team, the Phillies have 10 saves and 7 blown saves. Not all ninth inning blown save opportunities. Right now it's a save chance for Bastardo, even though he most likely won't get the save. That one foul. Placido Polanco left because of a left knee contusion.
Mentioned the 4 lefties in Charlie Manuel's bullpen, and 2 of the lefties actually do just as well, if not better, against righties than they do left-handed hitters. Nice luxury to have.
Swing and a miss. He got him. Comes Baker, the pinch hitter. Perfect spot to drop Baker into the game. Last couple of years in particular has been really good against lefties. Small sample size this year, just 2 for 11. Two and one. Todd Frazier went deep twice as the Reds beat the Mets 6-3 in New York. That starts that stretch of 5 straight games in New York for the Reds. They'll play the Mets for 2 and the Yankees for 3. I would assume they'll stay at the same hotel all weekend. Just jump on a different train. Sean Marshall got his 7th save. Inside, 3-2. Miami beat the Braves in Atlanta 8-4. Mark Burley over Mike Minor in that one. Giancarlo Stanton with his 8th home run. Swing and a miss. Back-to-back Ks for Bastardo. This one, Bob. Tampa Bay beating Boston 2-1. In the Rays' last 18 home games against the American League East, they're 16-2. It's not easy to do. It's that division.
A lot of that has to do with Joe Madden and his staff and the advanced scouts for the Tampa Rays. I mean, when you see teams in your own division as often as you do, you have a very good opportunity to amend or edit your scouting reports, alter them from series to series, sometimes from game to game. That plus the fact that Tampa has a pretty good team.
Yeah, they do. First place in the East. Still drew under 21,000 tonight. He's in a different position on almost every pitch here in this at bat. His best Tony Pena impersonation earlier. Now Dolis has joined Maine. On the ground to Rollins. And Bastardo goes 1, 2, 3. The Cubs, by the way, don't have a base runner since the Soriano homer way back in the 4th.
By CLR. Coming up at midnight, we'll have highlights and post-game reaction from tonight's game. Also, we'll see how the Sox fared against Big Albert and the Angels. So join Kip Lewis for Sportsnet Central, presented by CLR, tonight at midnight, only on Comcast Sportsnet, fans' best friend.
Here's Scott Maine against switch-hitting Freddie Galvis. He is racking up the frequent flyer miles, isn't he?
Yes, he is.
Over the last couple of years. Second stint this year with the Cubs. 5 appearances from April 20th to May 3rd, a 1.59 ERA, 1 decision. It was a loss.
Scott has held opponents to an 0.56 batting average, including a 1 for 15, 2 for 16 by right-handed hitters.
And Galvis has his second double tonight.
Sweeping slider that actually ends up off the plate inside. Galvis catches that pitch out in front of home plate, keeps it fair down into the left field corner for that leadoff double.
Papelbon 10 for 10 in save chances. Fontenot showed bunt, took a breaking ball, but he actually didn't pull the bat back. Third base umpire Greg Gibson made the call.
Pulled it back, just pulled it back too late. Looked like another breaking ball. It just kind of stayed inside. Oh, it already passed his bat by the time he pulled it back.
Really couldn't do anything there but just get hit. Very vulnerable position when you square to bunt.
Right off of that right shoulder. And Mike Fontenot, his upper body is squared around, but his legs are pretty much in a standard hitting position, still not able to react quickly enough to get out of the way. A typical Jimmy Rollins season when he's swinging the bat the way we've become accustomed to. I don't think he bunts right here, but because he has struggled so much this year, you know, 1-run ball game, top of the 9th, I got to believe he's going to try to put down his 3rd sacrifice this season. At least showing bunt on that first pitch. Took it for ball 1. Showing a standard defensive alignment with runners at first and second, a potential bunt situation. Ian Stewart will just read the bunt off the bat. If he thinks Scott Maine can come on the third base side of the field, make the play, he'll retreat to the bag. If not, he'll come in, make the play, and throw on to first base.
Michael Bowden up in the Cubs pen. They give you the out, take it.
Oh, yeah, this will drive a manager and a pitching coach and a stadium full of people crazy.
Bases loaded, nobody out. That will be it for Maine. It'll be right-hander Michael Bowden, the Honda call to the pen. Bases full of Phillies with nobody out in the 9th. Right-hander Michael Bowden is on, and Scott Main left quite a mess. Bases loaded, nobody out.
Dale Swaim electing to put a right-handed pitcher on Ty Wigginton. He's kind of the Phillies version of Jeff Baker last year. He handles lefties very well, hitting 31 points higher against left-handed pitching. Both of his home runs this year have come against lefties, so Dale Swaim brings in the right-hander. Got an infield pop up and a double play ball.
Would work. There we go. Slider for a strike. Albert Pujols just hit a 3-run homer off Gavin Floyd, his second homer of the year. 4-2 Angels over the White Sox. In the bottom of the third. Ground ball, base hit to right. Galvis and Fontenot are in. And the Phillies have added on, leading 5-2, and that may make Charlie Manuel think about getting somebody else up along with his closer.
Well, and we've seen it the last couple of days. Yadier Molina yesterday, Ty Wigginton today. A veteran hitter that takes advantage of the situation. Normally Ty Wigginton's looking to pull the ball hard into left field, but with the bases loaded, takes a breaking ball away from him and just dribbles it through that right side for a couple of runs driven in.
Our Xfinity high-speed action. And still nobody out. And Shane Victorino takes a ball. Right now, Papelbon's just watching, and I think somebody else is going to get up for the Phillies if they score again and create a non-save situation. It's Valdez, who was up earlier.
It's funny how those veteran hitters sometimes can make it look so easy. When you're a young player at the major league level, everything seems so hard. You have to work so hard for your RBIs and your base hits, and as your career progresses, you realize where the hits are, how teams are likely to try to pitch you in certain situations, and take advantage of it.
A pop-up sending Castro out into shallow left, and he makes a catch right before he caught it. The third base umpire Greg Gibson put his right arm up in the air, meaning the batter was out. The infield fly rule doesn't have to be actually on the infield.
And kind of a loose rule of thumb is if the infielder can make the play facing home plate, the infield fly is still on. A little bit of a snow cone that time. That ball tried to creep out the webbing of Starlin's glove, but able to hang on for the out.
Pence has reached once on a walk, 0 for 3 officially, and there go the runners. Soto will not make a throw. So Rollins and Wigginton each with a stolen base. The Phillies have stolen 3 tonight.
Well, Michael Bowden got himself in a rhythm out there on the mound and did not alter it whatsoever. Gave Jimmy Rollins a huge jump at second base, and Ty Wigginton alertly followed, pulling off the double steal.
And the Cubs will bring most of their infield in. Pence takes a strike. Bob, a scary incident in that game at Tampa Bay tonight. Mentioned the Rays beat the Red Sox 2-1. Rays infielder Will Rhymes collapsed after he was hit by a pitch. Went down to first base and said he was all right, and then he passed out. Well, we hope he's all right. Had to be carted off the field. Another pop up. No infield fly rule here with first base open, and it's caught by Barney. Got hit on the arm. Franklin Morales was the pitcher. Boy, that is scary.
Yeah, that is scary. Man.
Ruiz with the go-ahead home run in the 8th inning. That was off Sean Camp. Will intentionally walk him. Pinch hitter Hector Luna is on deck. Hector to pinch hit.
Very nice.
Hey, we want to mention soccer is returning here to Wrigley Field for the first time since 1984. Sunday, July 22nd at 2:30 Central, a friendly, at the confines are calling it, international soccer match. AS Roma from Italy against Zagłębie Lubin from Poland in a friendly match that'll follow Ron Santos' Hall of Fame induction ceremony. The last time Wrigley hosted soccer, the Chicago Sting beat the Vancouver Whitecaps 3-1 in 1984. Were you there?
No.
You would have been playing baseball.
I'm sure that match was friendly as well.
I don't know. Will there be fun?
Will there be any hooligans? I've heard so much about these soccer hooligans.
No, I don't think so.
No, probably not.
Keep them away. One strike on Hector Luna. Deep to left. Soriano back. Gone. A grand slam. Hector Luna with his first career granny. And with that, Jonathan Papelbon will take a seat as the Phillies lead by 7.
I didn't think it was going to go. Hit it really high in the air. Fastball up and in. Soriano continued to drift back near the well area and eventually just ran out of warning track. Luna with his first career grand slam, and the Phillies have blown this one wide open.
It's the first grand slam for the Phillies in a while, since 2010. Grand slams have we seen now since Friday? Is that 3? You had David DeJesus. You had Edwin Masonette on Saturday, and now Hector Luna.
Now they're really only grand if you hit them.
Well, if I told you the Cubs would give up 2 grand slams this week, would you have said Edwin Masonette and Hector Luna would hit them?
No, not in a million years.
This was a tie game in the 8th inning. Now it's 9-2 Phillies as we go to the bottom of the ninth. This gave the Phillies the lead. Ruiz with a home run off Sean Camp. His first homer here at Wrigley. That made it 3-2. They would tack on 6 here in the top of the ninth. And Raul Valdez will try to close them out in a non-save spot.
See his numbers at AAA Lehigh Valley this season. 26 strikeouts in 21 innings against only 1 base on balls.
Joe Mather batting for Tony Campana. Two.
Goes 2 for 7 this season off the bench with a home run. Cubs have 2 pinch hit home runs. Reed Johnson had one the other day. Actually, they have 3. David DeJesus, I forgot his grand slam.
Inside 2-2. Look out, that almost got the on deck hitter Starlin Castro and bounced up into the seats. Swing and a miss for the first out. Starlin thought better of it after put his hand up there.
In a position to make the play, but wisely pulled that throwing hand out of the way.
Breaking ball strike. Just missed. Three and one with LaHair on deck. Castro doing what you should do down 7. Take some pitches. Cubs need runners. Sliding attempt by Galveston. Ty Wigginton ended up running over him. But he's all right.
It's one of those plays you like to see a guy make, or try to make anyway, even in a blowout ball game, continuing to give maximum effort. Galvis just comes up a little short. His own first baseman gave him a little love tap as he ran by.
Infield pop, right side. Galvis a catch. And it's up to Brian LaHair, whose on-base streak is on the line here. He did get on via the error in the 4th inning, but that doesn't count. 32 games in a row he's reached. With a hit, a walk, or a hit by pitch. Swing, foul tip. Phillies have used 2 pitchers born in Cuba in this game tonight. Jose Contreras and Raul Valdez. 1-2. Roy Halladay and Chris Volstad tomorrow night. Blown outside to fill it up with Soriano on deck. Cubs have only 3 hits. They haven't had a base runner since the 4th inning, and a swing and a miss will end it. The last 5 innings for the Cubs offensively, they went down 1, 2, 3 as Phillies pitchers retired the last 17 in a row. Well, I don't know what happened, but after that home run by Soriano, that was it. And the Phillies run away late and win it 9-2.
Well, I mean, the story of the ball game is going to be the bullpen implosion once again in the 8th and 9th inning of this ball game. But the reality is the offense has to shoulder their share of the blame as well. Somebody just pulled the plug.
So Charlie Manuel happy as his team has won 4 in a row for the first time this season. Cubs will try to avoid the sweep tomorrow. The Phillies are at 500 at 19-19. Cubs dropped to 15-22. And for Bob Brenly and our entire CSN crew, Len Casper saying so long from Wrigley Field. The final score, the Phillies 9, the Cubs 2. We're back on CSN Friday, Cubs and Sox, starting at noon with all the pregame coverage, and game time just after 1. You've been watching Cubs baseball on Comcast Sportsnet, now part of the NBC Sports Group.